Hi, and welcome to Salesforce Live. My name is Sunil Rao, and I'm the Global Industries Lead for the consumer products industry at Salesforce. And I'm very excited to be joined here today by two guests from Clorox. You may recognize Clorox, the brand, the company that manufactures bleach. But if you're thinking bleach, you're slightly mistaken, because that's not all they do. In fact, Clorox is one of the largest consumer goods companies in the world. They're also located here in the Bay Area, and they carry a very diverse set of brands. Brands like Burt's Bees, that you may recognize, brands like Brita. And I'm here today to be speaking with Doug Milliken and Kim Desai. And I'd love for both of you to introduce yourselves. So Kim, starting with you.
So I'm Kim Desai, and I lead our marketing, data, and technology enablement team.
Excellent. Thank you for joining us. Doug?
Doug Milliken, and I head up what we call digital consumer experience. So my role is fundamentally about driving the digital transformation of our marketing function.
Excellent. So on the topic of digital transformation, I'd love to start off by getting a perspective on how Clorox is looking at digital transformation. I understand that your approach is slightly different in that instead of looking at it from a functional siloed perspective, you're looking at it from a cross-functional perspective.
Sure. So the insight we had was that we really need to move from what we were thinking of as we were doing digital, and we have to go to being digital. So in other words, in the past, we've been doing digital marketing or doing e-commerce, and we realized we really need to be digital, meaning the company needs to be organized around and operating in a digital way end to end. So what that led us to realize is, for us, digital is, yes, it's a channel, certainly it's a technology, but we decided that digital fundamentally is about changing the way that we do business. And so digital for us is about changing the way that every function in the company operates, leveraging the possibilities of digital technology. So we have efforts across the whole value chain of the company, how we do R&D, how we do product supply, how we do marketing and sales, and a program that's funded and built into our 3-year long-range plan across every sector of the company to digitize and change how we work. We then decided we have to have kind of a North Star. So why are we doing that? To what end are we digitizing the company? And for us, that end is to improve the consumer's experience. So for us, digital transformation is changing how we work across the whole company in service of improving our consumer's experience.
And as you define digital experience across the entire enterprise, do you find that because you've built this momentum of change management and really driving the organization in one direction, that the technology aspect becomes easier, or does it become more difficult?
Yeah, the technology, what we've realized is it's just a part of the transformation. And that actually the more challenging parts of the transformation are understanding how do we need to think about what our goals, what's possible with the consumer, what's possible with our brands, how do we change our work, how do we change our processes, enabled to take advantage of the digital technology. So in a way, implementing technology is really hard, but actually setting up the company to take advantage of those changes are actually probably harder than the technology.
And it's a fair point. And we're hearing this from a lot of consumer goods companies and just in general, the industry. When we think about how we adopt the technology and how we enable the organization to adopt the technology. Now, one of the things you also mentioned was the consumer experience driving this change, right? Being the central source of truth. Yeah. Talk to me a little bit about how you guys are moving from being a consumer goods company into a consumer experience company.
Yeah. So for us, what this is about at the core is about we think of it as becoming more radically consumer-centric and human-centered. So companies like Clorox, most CPG companies, we are very consumer-oriented, but we're typically been very brand-centric. So we're very organized, and our thought is very much around our brands. And what we're trying to do is to move, and our brands are critical. They're great. They're the unit of value for Clorox. But we're trying to put the consumer much more at the center. So to say, who is the exact consumer or the persona who we're designing around? What is her goal? So if we take one of our brands, Renew Life, it's a probiotic. That consumer's goal is not to buy Renew Life. Her goal might be to enhance her wellness. So what is the consumer's goal? What is her journey to that goal? What are the pain points or difficulties along those journeys that we can help with? So we're trying to shift our mindset from how do we sell our brand or product to think about how can our brand help the consumer along this journey. And that includes products, but it could include other things. It's about their whole end-to-end experience and moving from being a product and brand-centered thinking to thinking about an end-to-end experience along a journey to a goal. That's what we're trying to accomplish.
And as you calibrate to that experience, the experience of today, how do you see that evolving? And I'd love to get your perspective, Kim. Where do you see the experience needing to change as you see consumer expectations change?
Yeah, so I mean, as you were saying, consumer expectations have changed dramatically over the past 5 years, even over the past year. And so the mission of my team is to figure out how do we really create marketing that respects where a consumer is on his or her journey. So what we're trying to do is, one, find the right people to talk to, two, find the right content to offer them up that would reflect where they are in their journey across both our paid marketing activities and also our owned activities, so our websites, our emails. So, talking differently to a consumer who may own a Brita pitcher versus one that doesn't, or someone that has been to look up cool recipes that involve Hidden Valley Ranch one time versus 10 times. So really offering them up different content, and then also getting to a place where we can measure the activities that we're putting out to market faster. So traditionally in CPG, it does take a while to get that feedback, given that we a lot of times don't own the actual end of sale closing purchase. So figuring out how do we get data points in that would enable us to measure and then change our marketing.
That's a very interesting point because absolutely, right? CPG has always been disintermediated from the consumer. So it's very difficult to have data points that give you that full perspective on end-to-end journey.
Yeah.
And another point you made that was really interesting is the fact that you guys are kind of looking at this across brands as well, right? Because the consumer is the consumer. How do you stitch the data points across?
Yes.
I'd love to get, from both of you some advice that you have for other companies that are trying to undergo this journey about how you guys are approaching this. And maybe, Kim, if you could share some thoughts.
Yeah, so one thing that's been really important for us is to work with pilots. So, the group that we sit in, it's a center of expertise type group. And I think I've seen in different organizations, sometimes those can kind of sit on the outside and be a little bit dissociated from the businesses. And so you kind of are off working on your own thing, and then you show up one day and you're like, I have this great idea for you, but you haven't really involved them along the way. And the approach we've taken is to really partner with the businesses from day one to understand we have this cool idea that we want to experiment, but also what business problems are you trying to solve, and how do we marry capability building with solving a business issue to get the buy-in earlier, so then we could say, okay, this worked on Hidden Valley, Fresh Step, Clorox, now let's roll it out to the rest of our businesses.
And I love that fail-fast methodology of trying it out and seeing if it works. Doug, from your perspective, what advice would you give?
Another thing that is really working on our team is becoming dramatically more cross-functional and integrated in what we do. The capabilities that are available now and that have to go into doing this kind of work, they're much broader than I think that they used to be. And you can't provide a seamless experience to the consumer if your organization is siloed. That it just won't work. The organization has to be integrated and seamless as well. So if you look at, for instance, our team just as an example, yes, we sit in marketing, and members of our team may report to different places, but in our team on a day-to-day basis, we have business and marketing people like Kim, we have data science people, we have data analytics, we have consumer insight people, we have data engineers, we have data quality specialists, and then we have an IT team, we have media people. this entire team works together on a daily basis, everything from insights to data quality to IT architecture to business to media. And we're all day working together. And in order to harness all of this and bring it to the consumer in this integrated way, that's the kind of cross-functional, cross-discipline organization that we need. So I think this is another thing I would really, it cannot, even if it's a marketing-oriented effort, the team cannot just be marketing people, and they have to be a seamless integrated team.
That's really interesting. So in order to provide an integrated experience for your consumer, you have to be integrated yourselves cross-functionally.
Yeah.
So I love that you guys are approaching this way and obviously seeing a lot of success. I think it'd be very interesting to hear some of the challenges that you've come across as you've undergone this journey. So maybe Doug, from your perspective.
Yeah, I think that one of the big challenges is changing our own and our organization's mental model. So we all have a mental model of how things work in our industry, on our businesses, and organizations then build processes around just how they see it. I mean, in a way, you could think an organization just basically runs a model. Now those models are all changing really dramatically. For instance, from thinking about serving a mass audience to being able to serve much more at an individual level. It's a huge change in a model, going from thinking linearly to thinking non-linearly. So just one of the big challenges is, how do you as an individual let go of that mental model that you've had and then embrace, we have to do things in a really different way. We have to rethink how we work. Some people are naturally really enjoy that and they're good at it. For most people in most organizations, it's hard to let go of those mental models because you've really optimized them and they're comfortable. So this kind of cognitive flexibility and the ability to adapt your mental model and just be open, that I think is a big challenge. And having people on your team and embracing the changing of the model and then the processes by which you operate, that's a big challenge.
And I mean, you said at the very beginning, right? Part of digital transformation is undergoing this change and adopting these new mental models. Kim, from your side, what are some of the biggest challenges that you see?
I think one thing we've had to realize is this equation of technology and then the people and process alongside of it. So I think a couple of years ago, we were certainly guilty of, plugging in a piece of technology and then thinking that it was this magic thing that would give us all the answers, and then realizing, oh wait, we have to hire data scientists and we need to change some of our processes to really support this to get the most out of it. So that's been an interesting learning curve. I think now, having gone through that, we're really set up well for every project to think about, okay, this isn't just what's the data and tech we need, but then also, do we have the right people behind this? Do we have the right way of working behind this to get the most use out of everything?
Thank you for sharing that. And I think that these challenges are obviously faced by many companies in your industry, several of your peers. I want to change to a lighter note. What are you most excited about? Maybe starting with Doug. What is the change that you're seeing that you're most excited about?
Well, I think that there's been a lot of change in the last couple of years, but I think that we're only in maybe the top of the second inning when I really think about what's possible. And so what I'm excited about is, I think in the next 3 to 5 years, we're probably going to go from the top of the second to like the bottom of the sixth in terms of the ability to do this kind of targeted, personalized marketing real time at scale. It's still very challenging and it's still out there a bit. I think in the next 3 to 5 years, this is going to really come to fruition. And to see that happening is really exciting, because what we're going to be able to do for our consumer to move them along their journey, to enable them to reach their goal, and our ability to help them and our ability to grow our business while we're helping them do that, to me, that journey from the top of the second to the bottom of the sixth is really exciting.
So Kim, what are you most excited about? What are you looking forward to?
So I'm really excited to continue tackling this question of how how do we intersect brand marketing, classic brand-oriented marketing, and performance-oriented marketing? And how I'm defining brand is, all about building that brand equity, awareness, versus performance marketing being more of the how do we optimize and tweak to get to a specific conversion or some sort of KPI. And as CPG marketers, we've traditionally lived and felt very comfortable in the brand-oriented world. I think we're starting to move more into the performance marketing world, and just figuring out that balance to deliver the most value for our consumers and for the business.
Well, thank you. Thank you both for joining us here today at Salesforce. And thank you to the audience for joining us. Till next time on Salesforce Live.